Daycare versus staying home. If you're doing the math on quitting your job because childcare eats your whole paycheck, the number you're staring at is wrong. And the mistake could quietly cost you $400,000, not this year, over your career. You're comparing one daycare bill to one salary, deciding working is pointless, and walking away from six figures you'll never see coming. Here's the decision you're actually facing. Infant daycare runs around $14,760 a year on average. Your take-home pay after taxes might land close to that or even below it, so the panic makes sense. Why work all year just to hand it to a daycare? But that framing is quietly charging your paycheck for something that isn't yours alone, and it's ignoring the part of the equation that decides everything. The whole decision turns on one variable most people never put on the spreadsheet. Not what you earn this year, but what leaving does to every year after. Daycare is a bill with an expiration date. A career gap is not. Get that one distinction wrong, and you don't lose a paycheck, you lose a decade of your earning power. Let's run the real equations, starting with the number in your head. On the left, your salary. On the right, the daycare bill. When those two bars are roughly the same height, your gut says quit. But watch what's wrong with this picture. That entire daycare bill is being subtracted from one paycheck, yours. Childcare is not one parent's expense. It's a household cost, the same as rent or groceries. Split that bill down the middle between two incomes, and the right-hand bar drops by half. The panic that felt like math was really an accounting error. You charged the whole cost to the lower earner and then blamed that job for not covering it. Fix the split and most of the crisis evaporates before we've even touched taxes. Now, the sticker price on daycare isn't the real price, because the tax code hands part of it back. Here's the money flow. Start with your full daycare cost at the top. First deduction, the dependent care FSA. You can route $5,000 pre-tax through it, rising to $7,500. At a combined 30% marginal rate, that $5,000 saves you around $1,500 in taxes you'd otherwise pay. Next, the Child and Dependent Care Credit from the IRS. That's 20 to 35% of up to $3,000 in expenses for one child, or $6,000 for two or more. For most middle-income families, that's a credit worth $1,050 to $2,100. These are legislated, exact, not estimates. Stack them and coordinate them so you're not double counting the same dollars, and your true daycare cost drops by roughly $1,500 to $3,000 a year. The bill you're afraid of is smaller than the number on the invoice. Here's the first piece of value that vanishes the day you quit, and it's free money. Here's the compound growth curve. Your 401k with an employer match versus the same account frozen for a few years. Say your employer matches 3%. That's not your money being deferred, that's money your employer adds on top, and it compounds for decades. Skip that match and, modeled at a 7% return, the average worker gives up somewhere between $182,000 and $266,000 by retirement. Delaying contributions just 5 years from age 30 to 35 pulls about $112,000 out of your final balance. And the cruel part of compounding is that early dollars matter most because they have the most years to grow. A gap in your 30s doesn't cost $30-something. It costs the 40 years those dollars would have been working for you. The next forfeit is one almost nobody sees coming, and the formula behind it is fixed by law. Social Security calculates your benefit from your highest 35 years of earnings. It sums them and divides by 420 months. Here's the catch. If you have fewer than 35 working years, every missing year isn't skipped. It's entered as a zero and averaged in. Two workers with similar peak earnings, one with a clean record and one with gap years, can end up $800 a month apart, roughly $4,152 versus $3,349. Over a 25-year retirement, those zeros are worth around $240,000. The good news, and this is the fix, a later part-time year replaces a zero and permanently raises the check. Work past 35 total years and you overwrite the gaps entirely. But if you leave and never make those years back, the zeros are forever. Now the big one, the cost that hides because it's invisible and delayed. When you leave, you don't just lose this year's salary. You lose the raises, the promotions, and the higher base that every future raise multiplies against. 3 bars for one decision. A 30-year-old earning $50,000 who takes 3 years off. Bar 1, lost wages, about $150,000. The obvious part. Bar 2, lost wage growth, another $140,000, because you re-enter behind your peers and stay behind for years. Bar 3, lost retirement, around $125,000, total, roughly $415,000. That's the multiplier the Center for American Progress found. Each year outcosts 3 to 4 times that year's salary in lifetime terms. Scale it up. A 35-year-old earning $100,000 loses $446,291 over a 2-year break and more than $1 million over 5 years. These are modeled projections, not guarantees. They assume steady returns and a normal career path. But the direction is not in doubt. A $50,000 job was never a $50,000 decision. It's a $150,000 a year decision. And your peak earning years in your 40s and 50s are built on the base you're deciding not to protect right now. Put it all together and the break-even salary collapses. 2 lines over 5 years. Your daycare cost starts high with an infant, around $14,760, and falls every single year as the child grows. Hitting 0 the day kindergarten start, your salary line does the opposite. It rises with raises. The 2 lines cross fast. So even a job that only breaks even against daycare in year 1 is clearly positive by year 3, before you've added $1 of match, Social Security credit, or preserved wage growth. Yes, the second earner's paycheck feels small because a married second earner's first dollar is taxed at the household's top marginal rate, income stacks. With phase-outs at lower wages, the effective rate can top 70%. That's real. And it's why working can feel like a wash in year 1. But a wash in year 1 is not a wash. You're buying continuous employment, the match, the credits, and your career's momentum. It's an investment with a negative sticker price and a 6-figure return. So here's how to actually decide, no matter what you earn. First, always max the dependent care FSA, $5,000 rising to $7,500, and claim the child independent care credit on what's left. That alone cuts your real daycare cost by $1,500 to $3,000 a year. Second, split the daycare bill across both incomes before you judge whose job pays. Then run the real equation over a 3 to 5 year window, not year 1. Take-home pay minus your household share of daycare after the tax breaks, minus commute and work costs, plus the 401k match, plus your Social Security credit value, plus the future wage growth you keep. Now the framework. If your salary roughly equals daycare, keep working. It's break even today and clearly positive within 3 years. If your salary is below daycare, still likely keep working if you get a match. Your early career with room to grow, or the gap would run 3 years or more. If you genuinely need to step back, keep the gap short. Keep some earned income to protect your 401k and Social Security, and plan to work past 35 total years so a later year overwrites every 0. None of this requires a big salary. The younger and lower paid you are, the more the compounding is on your side, because those early dollars have the most time to grow. Here's the answer. Daycare is a 3 to 5 year expense. A career gap is a 30-year one. The break-even salary is far lower than the panic makes it look, which means for most people the job is worth keeping even when it feels like it barely pays because staying beats leaving by 6 figures. If this reframed the decision for you, hit like and subscribe. It genuinely helps. And your one next step, this week, open your employer's benefits portal and enroll in the Dependent Care FSA, because that's the single fastest way to shrink the number that started this whole debate.